Three. Hey, what's up, guys? I'm Angel.
I'm Kianah.
And this is the Break the Stigma podcast.
Yay!
So today we are interviewing a lovely special guest. Her name is Ray. Do you want to introduce yourself to the crowd?
I'm Ray, and I'm 13 years old. And yeah, I'm really boring. I'm sorry.
It's okay. We feel
It's
that.
okay.
It's hard the first time. Our first time doing the podcast, we were so awkward with it. It was honestly horrible, but we've gotten better over time.
We got through it.
So Ray brought this topic to my attention, actually. So it was completely her idea. You use she, her pronouns, right? Before we start.
My pronouns are she, her.
She, her? Okay, perfect. Mm-hmm. So Ray brought this topic to my attention. She wanted to talk about mental health in the younger generation. And, she's 13. Me and Kianah are both, well, I'm 20, Kianah's 21. So there is quite an age difference. So we wanted to talk about mental health between the two generations and how it affects us both differently and in what ways it's harder dealing with mental health at a younger age versus at our age and things like that. So first we wanted to ask you how school plays a role in your mental health, being that are you in middle school?
Yeah.
Yeah. So how does that affect your mental health? Is it harder being in school with mental health struggles, or do you find that easier talking to your counselors, things like that?
So when you are younger, you don't really know that you're having issues like depression, anxiety, something like that. So when you're in school, you just have to play it off like with a smile, but you have to talk to somebody or it's going to get worse. Mm-hmm. So I think for me, I wasn't in school when I was going through what I was going through because it was during quarantine in the summer. But if you are in school, talk to a counselor, talk to a trusted teacher. And yeah, I mean, if somebody's bothering you, tell somebody.
When you were going through that, were you able to recognize the signs like, hey, I'm not okay?
For me, it was different because my sister had issues with her mental health. So I was able to recognize like, yeah, I'm not okay. Like I need to talk to somebody like instantly. Like this isn't normal. It's different for everyone, I think. For me, it was faking smiles, laying in bed all day, headaches, dizziness, just not wanting to motivate and do anything.
Yeah, that sounds hard, especially at your age.
Yeah, definitely.
I was 11 when I went through all this.
That's around the age that I went through the same thing. I personally got bullied a lot in middle school. I don't know if you went through the same thing, but that's like what sparked my mental health struggles was when I was getting bullied. And that's when I realized like I need to talk to someone about this and I can't just let it like manifest in itself because that'll make it worse. Were you being bullied? Is that how it sprung on or was it something else?
It was completely different. This was during quarantine with Corona. And then I had not me, but somebody else struggles with like alcohol. So that was a big part in it. You have to take it serious. It's not something you can just like laugh around and play with. Like you have to tell somebody.
Yeah, that's huge. I know me when I was younger going through my stuff, I didn't tell anyone until like years into it because I was just, I don't know, thought it was like wrong or something, or I didn't know what was going on.
That's definitely a big part of it is how you really know is if you're scared to talk about it.
If you don't mind me asking, what are you struggling with? Do you want to talk more about that?
I mean, just like in the beginning of the year in the school year, middle school is like tough. It's like your looks matter, your weight matters, your height matters. If you're not a certain weight, you're not a certain height, you're getting bullied. Like in middle school, it feels like you have to be perfect. So in the beginning of the year, yeah, I was having a hard time. Now I'm not like as like just miserable. This time I'm kind of like a little bit more happier, and I'm just kind of getting the hang of it.
That's good that you're feeling a little bit better, definitely. Do you think that like you would ever be able to go to a therapist and get like a diagnosis, or is that not something that like you really think that would help you?
Honestly, I never even thought of a therapist, but if you even think that you need a therapist, I would get one. I never thought I needed a therapist. But I mean, everybody's different.
Yeah.
Do you have any friends or people close to, I know your sister, is she older or younger, who's going through like some
Older.
struggle? So do you ever talk about it with your friends or your sister?
Me and my sister, we tell each other everything. So yes, I tell my sister. I don't really tell any of my friends, honestly.
Yeah, it
Is
must be
there a
hard.
reason why?
Oh yeah, sorry. Did you hear the question? I couldn't.
Yeah, no, I didn't hear.
Sorry.
Oh, Angel.
Is there a reason why you don't talk to your friends about it? Are you like scared, or is it like you just don't think they'd understand?
Well, when I say talk to somebody, don't go telling all your little friends that you're like depressed or whatever, because they can't do anything. If you get like an adult, then it'll have an effect on you, and they can do something. They can put you wherever you need to be.
Right.
I never even thought about telling my friends, honestly.
Interesting. Did you I can't talk apparently. Is the reason why you never thought about telling them is it because you know that they can't help, or did you feel kind of isolated in whatever you're going through?
For me, I felt like I was in this dark trap box and I couldn't get out, and I couldn't spit any of the words out that I needed to say. That's kind of why I'm telling everybody now, talk to somebody, because I didn't, and I don't want anybody to go through what I had to go through.
That's huge.
Yeah, I'm really proud of you for that.
Yeah, that's kind of, I think, part of the reason why Angel and I can't are doing this, because we've both gone through so much, and there's not a lot of light put on it that needs to be.
So going off of what you said about telling an adult is what's most important, were you able to ever talk to your parents about it? Or is that something you've thought about doing, or are your parents like not supportive?
I talked to my mom about it a lot. I actually have a doctor's appointment coming up. They're talking about putting me either on some, like, they call it happy pills.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I had to go to a doctor Wednesday. So I told my mom and my sister everything. They're the two people that know everything about me.
That's good that you have a good relationship with both of them and that you're able to like open up and tell them. Your mom's like, does your mom ever like give you advice on what to do whenever you're struggling, or she's just more like a listening ear?
She's like, she's like, she always tells me, like, it just depends what I'm doing or what I'm going through, or even when I'm doing to myself or whatever. She tells me, like, you can do this, like, don't worry about what others think, you do you. One thing that I say to myself all the time is everyone has a door, and they're either really open or it's closed, and some are too closed where the rest of it, they can't be opened, and they're a little bit hard to open. Like that's one of the things I've always told myself.
That's actually really interesting. Like that's really insightful for especially someone your age to think about. That's really cool. I know personally for me growing up, mostly my mom, because I didn't really talk to my dad about much. But my mom was very like, mental health is fake, like you don't need therapy, like you just need to grow up and deal with it on your own. Obviously now she's more supportive of it and she supports me going to therapy 100%. But when I was younger, I think that she just thought that I was doing it for attention and that it was like just something that I wasn't really going through. Do you think that your mom was ever like that, or was she always supportive?
She was always supportive. It was other people telling me I'm too young to go through this. That goes for like an 8-year-old for their parents splitting up. Like you can still be sad or you can still be depressed. You may not know you're depressed, but you can still be depressed at a young age. It doesn't matter what age you are.
Exactly. What about you,
Yeah, that's
Kianah?
important. I talked to my mom about everything. I kind of had like the same experience as Ray. Like my mom was my biggest advocate. She's like, she put me in therapy. There are some aspects of like needing more support, but you know, well, you don't know this, Ray, or I don't know. But I'm a quadruplet, so my mom had a bunch of like my other siblings to take care of. So it was, but in all, she really helped me like throughout my childhood and like into my teenage years, and even now, not as much because I'm an adult, but yeah.
It definitely gets harder as you're an adult because you have to advocate for yourself and you don't have anyone there to like tell you like you need to go to therapy. You kind of have to realize it on your own, which thankfully for me, I realized it at a young age that I needed it on my own, even if I didn't have people around me saying like, yeah, it's okay to go to therapy. Like I knew for myself that it was okay. So I think it's really important to know like at your age, especially, that it is okay to go to therapy if you need it, and that it's something that's shouldn't be frowned upon. It's something that it's like as important as going to your yearly physicals or your doctor's appointments. It's like checking up on your mental health is just as important as checking up on your physical health.
Yeah. Back to, you were talking about middle school and like the pressures of like how you look and how you act and things like that. You want to talk more about that, how that affects you and other people?
It can lead to serious things. It's in like it could lead to eating disorders and not going to school, and you're just making bad grades because all you have are these thoughts in your head of being perfect because you think everybody else is when nobody's perfect, especially if they're bullying you, then they're definitely not perfect.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, don't bully, like, be kind. It's not hard.
Yeah. I think a lot of people, especially, I feel like middle school is when like assholes come out.
Yeah.
I think that's important, like an important message to hear. Like everyone is going through their own individual things, and everyone needs to be more kind to people.
It costs $0 to be kind. I don't understand why people bully, honestly. Like I was always told that it's because they're going through their own thing, but even then, everyone's going through their own thing and not everyone is a bully. So it just makes zero sense to me why some people are just assholes and want to see other people fail. Like it just bothers me a lot.
Yeah. It does get annoying.
Yeah. And it's crazy how like even though we have this age difference, the pressures of middle school is still there. Like the pressures to look a certain way, to act a certain way, to weigh something, to have your hair, like just everything is kind of still similar. Like you still have to do all the, or have to quote unquote do all these things to make yourself be more presentable to like your peers, even though it shouldn't be like that. It should be how you are is just as good as how everyone else is.
Yeah, honestly, hearing you say that, like the struggles of like the pressure in middle school, like it just reminded me of my middle school experience, which was literally 7 years ago. Like that's crazy to think about. Like I'm so old. um, but thinking about how literally nothing has changed honestly makes me so upset because I was hoping that like people would come a lot further like at this point, but it just honestly like it's not shocking to me that nothing's changed, but it's still I wish that like you didn't have to go through that and that middle schoolers weren't as big of assholes as they used to be and that they still are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. When you go through middle school, it's like your body image is everything.
Mm-hmm.
That's like what it all comes down to. Like, it sucks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
especially when you're like struggling. Like I know for me personally, I was going through an eating disorder when I was in middle school. Like, that's when I first started. And it was definitely because of the bullies and people telling you that I needed to look a certain way. So do you feel like you've ever struggled with something like that because people are telling you that you need to look a certain way or act a certain way?
When it comes down to eating disorders, are not something to take lightly. You shouldn't it shouldn't be something you just think of lightly. Like you have to actually put thought in this, like, do I really want to do this to myself? Do I want to eat during the night? Do I not want to eat during the night? It can eating disorders can be for anything. It doesn't have to just be for body image. It can be for distractions, or you're just mentally sick and every time you eat you throw up. That's how it was for me.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, I'm sorry, did I interrupt?
no, you go ahead.
And sorry, in my eating disorder program, like one of the first things I learned is that it's not about the food. There's so many, like, let's see, like the food is the tree, but there's like roots underneath that have to be,
Exactly.
dealt with. Do you think you're dealing with like your roots now?
I mean, yeah, in a way, I'm not sure. I still have times where I think, do I want to eat? If I eat, am I going to throw it up? Am I going to keep it down? That kind of sort of thing.
Do you think that
Yeah.
there's like an underlying thing that you're not dealing with, or is it just, do you think it's just the food right now that you're struggling with, or is there something like underlying that you haven't dealt with yet?
I think right now it's really just food. Just looking at it and just wondering, do I really need to put this in my stomach? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah. I think in the beginning of like your recovery and like learning about your own mental health issues, it's kind of a struggle, especially with eating disorders, because I feel like with other things, you can't, what's the word? Like you have to stop doing something. Like you can live without all the other things that you're addicted to, but food, you can't live without food. So you have to do something. It's definitely hard in the beginning.
I'm so sorry, but my sister's home and we share a room, so she busts in the door. Ignore her.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
So going off of that, do you remember when you first realized that you were struggling with like any mental health issues? Like, do you remember a distinct point in time where it came up for you, or was it just kind of always present?
Honestly, it was off and on. I think it was the one day I went to my grandma's, and when I started my eating disorder, that's when I was like, this isn't okay anymore. I need to talk. Like, I need to open my mouth.
Did you talk to your grandma about it?
No. I
No.
waited till I got home and I talked to my mom.
I think you're emphasizing a good point. Like you have to talk to someone, especially it sounds like you had like this point of like, oh my gosh, I'm struggling. I got to talk to someone, and you did the right thing in talking to like your mom about it or talking to your sister about it.
Mm-hmm.
And the difference, I think, between you and I is that you talk to someone immediately whenever you realized it. At least that's what I'm hearing. For me, I waited, I think, until it was too late. And I was already so deep in my struggles that it took so long in therapy for me to realize like that there was something going on. And it took me like way longer than it would have if I would have opened up sooner. So I commend you for opening up and talking about it when you needed to like get it under control before it got like big and massive and scary, like it did for me at least.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was
Oh, sorry. Say that again. I'm sorry.
it was terrifying for me, honestly. It did take me a while to talk, but once I did go through an eating disorder, that's kind of when I was like, this isn't okay. Like, I don't think this is normal.
Yeah. I want to like echo what Angel said. I know like I couldn't first, it was too scary to open my mouth because I didn't want to lose this coping skill. And I didn't know if whatever I was going through was enough. So I just kept quiet and then waited until like I was so deep in my struggles. And I think that it takes a lot of strength, Ray, to talk, even though like it took some time, you still were able to talk about it. And you're young too. So maybe you won't be 21, 20, still dealing with this. I hope not. Because right now is the time to get the help that you need.
Definitely nip it in the butt as soon as you can. It sounds like you're doing really well, like at least to me, unless you're really good at hiding it. But being able to talk to your sister and your mom about it is a perfect start. And if you ever feel like it's getting more out of control, I would definitely suggesting to your parents or your sister like that you would like to go to therapy, because therapy honestly saved my life. I wouldn't have it any other way. I love my therapist with all my heart.
Danielle.
Shout out to Danielle. But if you ever do feel like it's getting like to the point where it's out of your control, it's perfectly okay to ask for professional help. I just hope you realize that.
Mm-hmm.
I think the one mistake I made is like not opening up to a therapist when I had the chance to, like when I was younger. So even I think for like the younger audience who are considering or thinking about therapy, they're not there to get you in trouble or to punish you. Their sole goal is to help and for like you to have a safe space to open up and talk to someone about it.
If you even think for a second that you need therapy, do it. Talk to somebody, ask, because you most likely do.
And it's important to advocate for yourself, even if there's no one around you supporting you, even if there's no one around you, like saying, okay, it's okay to go to therapy, advocate for yourself because you know you the best. There's no one else in this world that knows you better than you do yourself. So definitely advocate for yourself. If you feel like you need it, then you definitely do. And don't be afraid to like go out and get it.
Yeah.
So our last question for you, Ray, is I know you were talking about before how you don't really talk to your friends about it, but do you feel like your friends would be supportive if you were to talk about it? Do you think it's hard to open up to your friends about this kind of matter?
Most definitely. I would definitely talk to them. I used to have a friend. She kind of moved away, so I haven't really gotten to talk to her much, but I told her everything going on in my life, like every single thing she knew about me. It almost felt like she knew me better than I knew me.
Yeah. Me and Kianah are honestly like that. Like I tell Kianah everything and Kianah tells me everything. And that's the reason why we wanted to start this podcast together, was because we're best friends and we want to put the message out there that mental health is not something that should be taken lightly and that it's something that is very important. So I think it's very special and important to have a friend like that in your life that you can tell anything to and that you feel comfortable with.
Yeah. Yes. Echo. And plus I love Angel.
Did you have anything else that you wanted to add on before we ended off, Ray?
No.
A message for the crowd?
If after hearing this podcast, if you thinking about it, do something. Talk to somebody. Even if it's a random stranger, I don't care. Just talk to somebody.
Yeah, but stranger danger, always remember that.
Yeah, don't talk to strangers. I was just
Thank you, Ray, so much for talking and sharing part of your story. I think you're a strong woman and you're going to do great. And you have a good head on your shoulders.
You really do. And I wish that I was as insightful as you are when I was that age. You definitely, like Kianah said, you have a good head on your shoulders and you're going to do great things in this world. I hope you know that.
Thank y'all.
Of course. So with that being said, guys, we're going to end the podcast here. Cut it off.
Yep.
And we hope you enjoyed this week's episode. We'll see you guys next Tuesday. Bye.
Bye.